Rico, the producer.
Honestly, I feel like we're at one of those weird points in times during the year where NBA finals are wrapping up. The NFL postseason is long over, and we're in that weird off-season period where it's like OTAs and minicamp are right around the corner, but they're also not too close to where we're saying, oh yeah, like next week we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna have the NFL finally start up and ramp up again. We're still in that kind of like dead period, and it's honestly sort of sad to be in right now. And honestly, right now, we're at a point where in the not so distant future, we're going to be coming to that time where the NFL season is going to start back up. And we're going to be going ahead and wondering and analyzing who's going to go ahead and win it all. Who's going to be the next Super Bowl champ? Who's going to be the next NFL chump and be the number one pick, in next year's draft. There's a lot of things going forward into next season. But I think what I want to go ahead and focus on the most right now is who's going to win it all. And, while the clock is very much so ticking, I also think we do have more teams this year who are in contention for the favorites to win it all. But, I mean, is it really that much teams when you go ahead and think about it? The usual per every year is 3-4 teams are surefire contenders, and there's 5 or 6 dark horses who can go ahead and work their way into the NFL playoffs and make a run. And then there's always that one surprise team every year who makes it a whole lot further than anybody necessarily thought they can go ahead and make it. But I think the NFL is going to have a little bit clearer of a picture this year versus years past in who's going to win it all. Like anyone else, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have my 2 or 3 teams who I think are going to go ahead and win it all. And then I'm also going to be the guy who has his favorite team who I hope ends up pulling off some sort of Cinderella moment and somehow makes it not only into the playoffs, but making it all the way to the end and pulling off some crazy upset defeat that nobody would have gone ahead and pictured in the first place. But just like anybody else, I'm just a guy with the dream and a big old set of hopes. And you know what? As a fan, I'm gonna be hopeful because all I can do is be hopeful. All I can do is root for my favorite team. But I don't think my favorite team is gonna go ahead and win it. I honestly think when it's all said and done, one team, in my opinion, is probably the much bigger, clear and consensus favorite above every other team. And it's time to go ahead and explain that now. Okay. Now that we got a quick wardrobe change going, my name's Manny. As usual, welcome to the statement. And today I'm going to tell you guys why I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl this year. Now, while the Philadelphia Eagles were very close last year, going into this year, their roster is pretty much going to stay the same as last year. All the core foundational pieces are still going to be there, but this time, guys who were injured last year going to come back. And a lot of new draft picks and signees this year are coming in and hopefully going to be making immediate impacts going forward. Now look, the running back core pretty much got decimated last year, especially with Sanders leaving, who was pretty much their premier back and the guy who for the last few years basically ran Philadelphia's offense in regards to the running game. Now coming into next year, Jalen is going to have a much bigger role in the run game, but he's not going to be going ahead and doing it alone. So on March 14th, the Philadelphia Eagles actually went ahead and signed old Seattle running back Rashad Penny, who during his tenure over in Seattle was also a focal point of that major running game that they had over there. If anybody knows Seattle football, Seattle is very, very run heavy, and Rashad Penny was a huge asset to that running game over in Seattle. Now you're going to go ahead and put him behind that Philadelphia offensive line inside that running game with Jalen. It's going to be huge for them as a franchise because Rashad Penny is not no small running back. That's a big boy back there running the football. Between him and Jalen, things are going to go ahead and work very well in that run game. And then, as all of us know, Philly went heavily Georgia-centered in the draft last year. They went ahead and signed Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, and they went ahead and signed corner Keely Ringo. So
basically, what does that mean? It means that their defensive line at certain points is going to have like 3 or 4 guys from Georgia on that defensive line, and you're going to have some guys from Georgia in that secondary. They went ahead and, like I said, they kept that core intact. So all the older veterans in the locker rooms and some of the newer additions and pieces that are going ahead and making Philly are there. They're there to stay. And I'm telling you right now, even though they lost both their offensive and defensive coordinator, Philadelphia is still very, very scary. Now, why do I think they're going to go ahead and win the Super Bowl? Well, 2 words. Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is easily one of the reasons why they're not only going to be in contentions for the Super Bowl, but I think they're going to go ahead and win it. They were literally this close last year to going ahead and winning every single game throughout the year, if not only having 1 loss. Jalen got hurt, but when he came back, they were just as effective, and they picked up right where he left off. But this was their issue. They ran into Patrick Mahomes. And now, like I said earlier, there's like 2 to 3 teams that every single year I'm going to go ahead and consider to be Super Bowl contenders / favorites. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are still in that 2 to 3 team range, because as long as Patrick Mahomes is running that ship as their starting quarterback, you can never count them out of any game. I don't care, from preseason all the way into the postseason and the Super Bowl. You can never count out Patrick Mahomes. Now, also, I'm going to go ahead and throw in Buffalo in that third, slot, where between my 2 to 3 teams, that's the field. You got Philly, Kansas City, and Buffalo. Those are the 3 teams that I'm going to rock with. Like I said already, Philly is going to win it. Philly's got the deepest roster, keeping their head coach, keeping their quarterback, keeping their veteran core, only adding extra pieces to that defense. And it's another year for Jalen to go ahead and get more comfortable in that offense, in that franchise's, system. And they're in a relatively easier division. When you go ahead and look at the division, Washington's okay, New York is okay, Dallas is hit or miss. They're either going to be really good or really bad. And the one consistent piece that you can almost always take to the bank every single Sunday, Monday, Thursday, is the Philadelphia Eagles. They have easily a top 2, top 3, top to bottom roster in the NFL, and they arguably have a top 10 quarterback in Jalen Hurts. You put those 2 things together and you keep him with the same head coach, it's only going to lead to good things. They were just 1 year off of the Super Bowl last year. It's just 1 year. It's not like the Patriots who were in the Super Bowl, like 5, 6, 7 years ago. That's not Philly. Philly was just there. Actually, Philly was also there 5, 6, 7 years ago, where they beat the New England Patriots. And if anybody knows me, New England is my favorite team, who I'm hoping is the one who pulls off the Cinderella run to make it to the Super Bowl, where they're most likely going to end up having to play Philly. With them going ahead and having to play Philly again, I don't think that would work for the Patriots, and the Patriots are probably going to end up losing, because with Michaela Jones over there at QB, I don't really feel very hopeful in how things are going to go ahead and play out. So when we look at the Philadelphia Eagles schedule, what's probably going to end up happening, in my estimation, is they're probably going to win anywhere between, I would say, 11 and 14 games, maybe. Between 11-6 and 14-3 is probably where I'm going to go ahead and have them ending up with their, record on the year. But let's go through their schedule, and we're going to break down team for team who they're going against and who they are probably going to win and lose against. So to start off the season, you got them at New England. At New England, first game of the year, I still think that's going to be a win for them, so we'll call it 1-0. Then they have Minnesota at home. Minnesota, while it is a good team, especially with Justin Jefferson behind, that whole juggernaut of an offense that they're going, and with Jordan just being drafted out of USC in the first round, their receiving core for Minnesota is there, but I'm still going to go ahead and initially give the edge to Philadelphia, so that's going to put them at 2-0. Then they're going to be playing at Tampa. Now, at Tampa is like a kind of, I would say, a give me game, because if Baker Mayfield is going to be the starting QB for that team, I really don't have hope for Tampa at all next season. Tampa's probably going to be a 6-7 win team with Baker Mayfield at the starting QB, so that's going to put them at 3-0. Then they got their divisional opponent in Washington. That's going to be at home in Philly, so we're going to go ahead and chalk that up to another win. So they're going to start the season 4-0. Then they're going to go play at Los Angeles. If Matt Stafford at that point in the season is balling out, that's probably going to be their toughest test at that point, because I still like LA overall as a roster, but I'm still going to give Philly the win. So 5-0. Then they're going to New York to play the Jets over there. I think the Jets are going to be a scary team next year, and I think that, teams are going to go ahead and have a few games where they just shit the bed and they don't play as well as they can play. So I'm thinking at New York against Aaron Rodgers, who's 5-6 weeks into game mode with the New York Jets. I think the Jets might actually pull that one off, so I'm going to give them the up. So it's 5-1 now. Then another home game playing against Miami. I have no hope in Tua, but seeing that it's the old Alabama, mashup between Tua and Jalen Hurts, I'm going to go ahead and give the win to Jalen, so that's going to put him at 6-1 against Miami. Then they're going to be at Washington, playing Washington again. That's going to be another win, 6-1 versus Dallas, 7-1 at Kansas City, the Super Bowl rematch. That's another one I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give Pat Mahomes, because this time it's at Kansas City. It's not in Philly. So that's going to be loss number 2. Then they're going to be playing Buffalo. They're going to be playing Buffalo at home. That one's going to be very tight. That one's going to be an absolute incredible game. Because Philly is at home, I'm going to go ahead and give that game to Philly. They're probably only going to win by like 3 points. Then you have them playing San Francisco at home. That's going to be another tough game. They're probably going to go ahead and lose to San Fran if San Fran has their QB position figured out by then. But because of the unknowns, still going to give that one to Philly. Then they're going to be playing Dallas at Dallas. Usually there's going to be one divisional game on the road that Philly is going to lose to, so that's going to be loss number 3 right there for me. Then they're playing at Seattle. That's going to be a W. Then they got against the Giants at home, going to give them the W. Arizona, going to give them the W. And then I'm going to go ahead and give the Giants at home. I'm going to basically put the sweep against the Giants. So, yeah, like 3 losses on the year at Dallas, at Kansas City, and at New York. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go ahead and go undefeated at home on the season. Maybe they have 1 loss. Maybe there's somewhere in here where I'm wrong, but I'm still going to go ahead and put him at 14-3 on the season next year. And now look, when you have a 14-3 record, it's probably going to go ahead and give them home field advantage throughout the playoffs, which goes ahead and gives them an edge, because that Philly crowd is insane. They're legit. It's a legitimate home field advantage for the Philadelphia Eagles when they go ahead and play at home. So if they have home field advantage through the playoffs and there's any form of injuries on the other rosters that they're going to be playing against, it's a clear path for them to go ahead and make the Super Bowl once more in back-to-back years. And if they go ahead and make it there, like I said, there's only 1 to 2 teams who's going to be able to go ahead and give them a genuine challenge in the Super Bowl, just because of how loaded Philadelphia's roster is. They're a legitimate threat in any game, on any field, at any point in the year, as long as they stay healthy, because when they're healthy, they are just as good, if not better, than any other roster in the NFL. So, when it's all said and done, that's going to be why I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl in this next upcoming NFL season. I'm not going to go ahead and hold you guys hostage anymore. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving me your time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Deuces.